Hosts stunned as Jordan Peterson explains deep Christian truths. Shout out to my boy Zach Costello. May God bless you so much. And let's check this video out,
when
man.
God throws Adam and Eve out of paradise, or when they actually fall out of paradise because of their pride, which is a more accurate way of representing it, God installs a cherubim, which is a kind of a monstrous angel, and a sword that's on fire that turns every which way.
Crazy.
And what does that mean? Well, it means that a sword obviously cuts and a flaming sword burns. And so a flaming sword cuts and burns. And if it turns every which way, there's no escaping it. Well, why? Well, if you want to regain paradise, then everything that isn't appropriate has to be cut and burned away. And that can be a lot. So people are terrified of that. Like, I've read metaphysical speculations that hell, there's no difference between hell for the sinful and the sight of the sword that cuts and burns everything away. Because if you're 95% lies, then anything that fixes you would look like death or worse. And so the terrifying ideal that destroys everything about you that's not worthy, that's rough.
I hear it. I hear it. So far, so good. Let me skip this, but I'm gonna pause it there, and just comment on the cherubim part, especially how it's turning whichever way. That's why they're so obsessed. Secretly, a lot of you guys don't know this. They're so obsessed with trying to find the Garden of Eden because they're looking for the tree of life. Don't forget, if you're a Christian, you know what I'm talking about. If not, but let's carry on and I'll give my take at the back end of this video.
I feel like everyone experiences life in terms of colors. And some people's colors just happen to be more vibrant than others. So for example, if I think I'm happy, if I think I'm as happy as I can possibly be, I'm a 10 out of 10, or I would say like I have 10 out of 10 joy. What if that someone else's just 6 out of 10? And what if I just...
You do see that with temperamental variation. I mean, you know, positive emotion can keep spiraling upward till it hits mania. Like there's an upper limit because at the... It's complicated, but if we just talk about positive emotion per se, not about meaning, let's say, just positive emotion. As you move up the scale of positive emotion, it gets more and more intense, but it limits out into pathology. So manics are very happy.
But meaning produces positive emotion. Meaning is positive,
that's
right?
complicated. No, not exactly. It's complicated because sometimes meaning can produce misery, especially in the short term. That happens with kids all the time. Look, there's a huge psychological literature that purports to show that couples without children are happier than couples with children. So then you think, well, children are a burden. No, your definition of quality in life is stupid. It's like, of course you're not happy if you have children. It's like you're worried about them. Why? Because they might die. So, or be hurt. So that's on your mind. But that doesn't mean that it's not meaningful. Right?
Or it's not good having them,
In a very profound way, you have to snap the connection between hedonism, either on the positive or negative emotion scale, and meaning. Like the relationship is by no means one-to-one. So let me give you an example. So in Notes from Underground, Dostoevsky put forward a very trenchant criticism of utopian socialism, and purposefully so, because that was one of Dostoevsky's prime focuses of contemplation. And he said that if you provided people with all of the hedonic delights that they would want, and you put them in a situation where that was provided to them continually, all they would do is smash that up so that something strange and mysterious and unpredictable would happen, because we have this requirement for what? Suffering? Maybe. How about the suffering that forces you to develop? Is that an instinctual demand? Probably. You know, people will pick false adventure over no adventure. Like we're wired for trouble, for sure, to seek it out. People are caused trouble all the time, especially when they don't have anything
to do.
Vital to do. In fact, that is what they'll do, is cause trouble, because that's a false adventure.
It's hard to imagine that the highest quality of life does not produce the highest average positive emotion.
I'm not sure about that. I don't know if that's optimal. Like if you're listening to music, The happiest music is elevator music. It's just happy. Like, it's trivial, but that's the thing. Like, there's a lack of depth to unadulterated happiness.
But the depth provides positive emotion.
Right, but the depth also is associated with suffering. This is, see, you've apprehended this to some degree because you said that the notion of a call to responsibility was attractive to you. Well, that's a burden. Responsibility is a burden. There's a weight to it. Now, you might say, what did Nietzsche say? He who has a why can bear any how. Mm-hmm. You could say, well, if the purpose is sufficiently noble, the weight is irrelevant. That's a better way of conceptualizing it, I think. And I think that's right. So you want to have a orientation towards your life and the world that makes even the suffering, no, it's not just justifiable, welcome.
One of my good friends, a Catholic priest, once said to me, and it stuck with me, there is so much wasted suffering in our world today. In general, we have forgotten how to suffer. We have forgotten what suffering does for us. And we in fact believe suffering is a bug, not a feature of human life. And this has left us naked in the face of suffering and has made things worse for us. And it doesn't have to be this way. In fact, deep within Christianity, it's not. In the gospel, Christ tells his disciples that I am the true vine and my Father is the gardener. And my Father cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. Think about that.
I'll think about that. And plus, what this makes me think of is how in the Bible is saying God's strength is made perfect in our weakness. It's like, are we onto something here? And how we know, often we say, diamonds are forged under pressure, blah, 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 and all the, the motivational kind of talk. But it's so true, and I'm very curious as to why. Let me know in the comment section down below as to why God specifically refers to that his power, his might is made stronger and stronger in our weakness, basically. So in our suffering, he not only, it's not that he works best in our suffering because he's God, he can do anything that he wants, but it's perfected. He really shows us, not only teaches us the lesson, but delivers us essentially just like a father here on earth who would rescue their child if they're in great danger. If God forbid, but if something like, I don't know, drowning was to occur, you will see fathers who don't even know how to swim, jump and dive into water just in an attempt to save their child. So it's that kind of crazy madness love to show you that, in your darkest hour, I am there. Even when you think you're going through your darkest hour, you're not going through your darkest hour, because if you were to go through your darkest hour, I will be there to rescue you. So what you're going through is not actually dark. I've given you enough strength and energy to come out of it. It's mind-boggling. It blasted my mind. It entered my mind and blasted, as my Indian friend would say. Mind confusing. It confused my mind. But it really goes to show how wonderful God is and how he's there for us, even in moments where we feel like he isn't there. And trust me, I know in those dark times where it feels like God isn't there. And then later on, when you come out of that situation, he shows you that. Remember when you was in that struggling situation, when you made those prayers? Yeah. Hindsight 2020, I've just made you realize that I was there, even in the depth of the ocean that was drowning over you. So, yeah, go check out the rest on Zach's channel. May God bless you, Zach, for putting this together, my friend. And let me know which video I should check out next, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.